Welcome to It's Not About the Hair online series. My name is Valerie Fuentes. I am your host, and today I am with Dani Candray. She's joining us from LA. She's a model, an advocate, and alopecia mentor. Thank you, Dani, for saying yes to my invitation. We have connected through Chronicon actually, because she had the privilege to be on stage at Chronicon, and I'm just so excited to connect with you and that you're here sharing your story with us, Dani. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Dani, I would love to get to know you a little bit more. So tell us a little bit about your story, specifically to your hair loss story.
Okay, my hair loss story. So I was diagnosed with alopecia at age 2.5. And it was so hard for me growing up with alopecia because kids were very mean. So it just took a minute for me to learn to, actually not even a minute, it took 10 years to accept my alopecia completely. I hid under wigs for under a decade. And it was just really hard for me. I felt ashamed of myself, like most of my childhood, which that makes me so sad to say, but I'm glad that I'm now at a place where I can be an advocate and I can share my story and I'm okay with it and I accept my alopecia. And if I was given the opportunity to have my hair right now, I wouldn't take it. So that's my story. I'm just at a place right now where I just completely accept my alopecia. Absolutely. And no one can take that from me.
Dani, and I'm so proud of you because at such a young age, you've already accomplished so much. Like you're really modeling, advocating, speaking in stages. You pretty much took your pain and made it your purpose. So at what point did you turn the corner? At what point did you decide, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this?
Oh, wow. So I think when I started, it happened so slowly. It happened like in little pieces, like baby steps. So I started in around 8th grade where I started sharing sharing with people I have alopecia. So I would tell people like, hey, yeah, I have alopecia, to my friends, like to the people I'm closest with. And then eventually everyone knew I had a wig. They probably didn't know too much about alopecia, but they knew I didn't have hair. And then in high school, at that point, people really didn't mention it. So it was easier for me. And then the friends that I happened to make in school that year when I was a freshman, they were into like anime and cosplay. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah, just like dressing up, wearing the wigs, you know. So they were wearing wigs on their own. So it was kind of cool to be wearing a wig. So I felt more comfortable with sharing things about me and my wig because my friends were into that. So that just made things easier. And then senior year of high school, I was asked to do a makeup tutorial video for this famous makeup guru. So she filmed my prom makeup that year, and that video went viral. And before I knew it, I became an alopecia advocate because I never really considered that for me. That wasn't my title. I never claimed to be that. But once that video blew up and I had the opportunity to share my story and share what I was doing, I became an alopecia advocate. Wow. So that was the big thing that happened. That was in high school. And then after that in college, I was still wearing my wig. I was accepting my alopecia, posting on Instagram, bald photos, but inside I still felt somewhat ashamed. Like I felt obligated to wear the wig. And this was finals week of my either first or second year of college. This was back in 2019. This year marks 3 years of not wearing wigs. So 3 years ago. Wow. And I was on my way to my finals. I was late to my finals. So I was in a rush, right? And it was so windy that day. And I'm just trying to get inside, you know, I have my wig, my little backpack, and I'm like running to class. The wind took away my hair. It just took it. And in that moment, I was in complete shock because I couldn't remember the last time that happened. You know, my wig was taken off in school by kids, and it was like re-traumatizing. I just had that feeling of like guilt and shame. It just all returned. So I felt like all that progress I had made throughout these years, now I'm in college, this is happening. So that's when I knew it was time to cut off the wig. I'm like, no, this thing has way too much power over me, because that day I literally could not recover from that. After my wig flew away, 2 people saw, I could not recover. I was so upset like the entire day. I was like crying multiple times. So after that, I realized this wig has too much power over me. Like, that's it. I'm cutting it off. And ever since then, I haven't worn a wig. So I'm just here ever since then. Like, that was the breaking point for me. And honestly, I've never been happier with my alopecia since that moment.
Wow, that's powerful. And I can totally relate to that, you know, having a moment in time where you relive everything again.
Yeah.
So like I was diagnosed, I started losing my hair at 18. I was diagnosed for the first time at 24. And then 10 years later, I went back to the doctor because I figured, it's been 10 years, maybe somebody found something. There has to be a cure by now, right? It's been a decade. And there wasn't. There's still no cure. But I remember when like I received the diagnosis again after a new they remove a little piece of your scalp, so they do like a biopsy. So everything again came back the same way. And I remember that day I could not stop crying. Like I came home to my husband bawling all over again. But I've had alopecia for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it was that moment when I was like, oh my gosh, I left everything all over again.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, how has this affected your relationships? Because just like me, you are extremely young, and it's hard to like open up to people, about our alopecia. Has this affected your relationships at all?
When I was younger, now not so much, because now they see me without hair, so they just automatically assume something's going on, and I'm okay with telling them. But when I was younger, when people would ask me, I would just avoid it. Like if I was wearing my wig and they would ask, "Is that your hair?" And I would say yes, because like I bought it, So I would just tell them, "Yeah, that's my hair. This is my hair." And then when people started realizing that's a wig, they would just like make assumptions about me, like, oh, like maybe she has cancer. So that was just like a thing, like a known thing, like, oh, maybe she has cancer. They didn't know too much. But when people asked that I like trusted, I would tell them about alopecia, just openly, like it's an autoimmune disease. It's not contagious. Some people have said that I'm contagious before, some people in the past, but like otherwise people are understanding. They're like, okay, you have a condition. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's been relatively easier for me as I got older. As a kid, not so much. Kids don't really understand because they're kids. But as I got older, it's been easier to open up to people about that. People are more understanding now.
Totally. Dani, and I know, in our previous conversation, you shared with me that your family is from El Salvador. I'm originally from Colombia. So there is a lot of, stigma when it comes to hair loss and being a female, a Latin female, a Latina. So what has it been like for you to grow up, in the Hispanic culture with alopecia?
For the most part, I've gotten a lot of support from my family, like regarding alopecia. Like they still love me. I have gotten a few comments from family members saying that I look better with a wig, that I should wear a wig. They've even offered to buy me a wig. They've even asked the people I'm dating right in front of me if they like the way I look without a wig.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I feel like they come from a good place. I know those comments sound kind of mean, but culturally to them, they think hair is everything. That's what you need to be beautiful. So they think they're helping me when they're not. But otherwise, I've gotten nothing but support from my family. Like when I needed wigs, like, because wigs wear and tear, they get a little beat up towards the end. So my family has like offered to buy me wigs. They've bought me wigs, just have supported me like throughout my life.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're not wearing wigs at all now?
No.
It's done. Done. Over. Wow. I love that. And so when it comes to relationships and dating, do you feel like it gets in the way or not at all?
No, I don't think so. Not since like I didn't start dating until like late middle school. And before then, guys were just mean. They didn't like me. Like they just did not. But in high school, guys didn't seem to care. Given I wasn't really walking around without my wig, so I still had a wig, so I still looked normal, So they didn't really understand, but they were okay with it. Like they knew I had alopecia. My serious boyfriend from college, it was really hard telling him because this is a new environment for me, like college, like big college. So when I first met him, I didn't tell him. The first month of us talking, I didn't even say anything, but he actually started noticing. So after I told him, he's like, well, now that you mention it, I notice you're super careful with your hair. You don't just like toss your hair around and like run your fingers through it. I would never touch my hair. My wig would stay in place. So yeah, for him, that's like kind of like what he remembered, like when we were dating, that's what he remembered. But while I was telling him, I literally broke down crying. Like I literally broke down crying because I was scared because I really liked him. So I was scared that maybe he wouldn't like me if I told him. But that wasn't the case. He was very supportive. He hugged me. he said that he still liked me like the way I was, that it didn't matter whether I had a wig or not, which that's so sweet. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh my God, this guy isn't going to like me. But, you know, now looking back, it's like, okay, let's say his reaction was mean and he was like turned off by that. You don't want those type of people in your life. Like that would have showed, that's a big red flag. That would show you who that person is. And you don't want people like that in your life. So I'm glad that he reacted the way he did, but if he didn't, I feel like I would be okay with that too, because it just shows you who he is as a person.
Totally. And I firmly believe that alopecia is kind of like a filter, right? Like we get to filter all the people that do not need to be in our lives.
Yeah.
Because if somebody doesn't love you and appreciate you for who you are, then they just shouldn't be in your life, period. Like nobody's dating you for your hair.
And that goes for friends too. That goes for relationships, friends, coworkers, anyone who's giving you a hard time about something that you literally cannot control, something that you were born with. Like, what's wrong with people? You don't want those people in your life.
Yeah. Dani, so how did you end up on stages? Because I think it's amazing that you're already speaking in stages. Like, how did that opportunity come to you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the first time I had spoken at an event was with Aerie. They're a clothing company. Mm-hmm. And that was like my first like big photo shoot with a company. And I hadn't even been assigned model yet. So after I shot with them, they stayed in touch with me and they had reached out like a few months after the shoot. And they said, hey, like we're doing this thing in New York. We're going to this event. We would love to have you speak with us like as a group. And so they flew me out and I went. That was my first like big speaking thing.
That's amazing. And how did you feel? Because I think that is a huge aha moment for us, right? Like for me also like doing, you know, the events and everything that I'm doing is really like acknowledging myself. Wow, like how did I even get here? Because I remember I've been hiding for so many years. So like, did it hit you when you were on stage or was it after? Like, how did you feel?
Well, I'm a pretty outgoing person. So I like talking to people in general. But then when I saw the audience, like right when we got there, I was fine. We flew in, got to the hotel, I was good. Then I saw the audience and the chairs filling up with people. And I'm like looking around and then I'm getting my makeup touched up. And I started thinking in my head, like, oh God, like this is really happening.
Yeah.
I was happy. I was nervous. Like you could tell when I was speaking, you could tell I was really nervous. And I just had like this big smile on my face, you know, like holding my little cards. But it was a really great experience. And yeah.
I love that about you. Your smile is contagious. Dani, so what's your future? Like, what's your vision like? I know you have like big plans for yourself, like what you want to do with this, you know, with your speaking and your modeling. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to see happening?
Okay, right now, I guess my small term goal is to finish school, just get that over with. That is like my ultimate goal right now. But after that, I really want to focus on my modeling because I've been doing it for a few years now, but I really want to like dig deep and put myself out there and really do it as like a legit career. Mm-hmm. And after that, well, during that and after that, I would love to start like public speaking regularly. I know COVID has kind of like affected events going on and stuff, but you know, you could do stuff online like what you're doing right now. I think that's amazing. So yeah, I want to find a way to speak to the masses. That's what I really want to do. And yeah, just see where it goes from there. I'm a pretty like go with the flow person when it comes to stuff like that. Like whatever happens, happens. If it's for me, it'll come to me type person.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're already taking those steps, right? So I know it's just going to come to you. Like you're already, and I wanted to speak about that because I feel like when we start losing our hair, it's so hard for us to be seen, right? Like to take up space. Mm-hmm. To say I am here, right? And you are doing that, and by doing it that for yourself, you're giving us a voice. So I am so thankful that you are putting yourself out there because it's gonna take all of us to take the message to the masses, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I can't do it on my own. Like, look what you're doing. Look what other alopecia models and alopecia advocates are doing. Like, we all have to come together because it can't only just be one person doing that, you know.
Yeah, it's going to take all of us. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone that is still not feeling comfortable with their alopecia?
Just be patient with yourself. That's really it. like I said, I took baby steps. This did not happen overnight. It really didn't. Took over 10 years and then some, you know, and I still have my days. Sometimes I feel kind of down. Sometimes I want to put on my hat, not have anyone look at me. You just have to take it day by day, be patient with yourself. And everyone's journey is different. Keep that in mind. Don't compare yourself to my journey, your journey, anyone else's journey. Like, just do your thing. Okay, just move with your own pace that you feel comfortable with, and you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah. Dani, what do you think? Because what's your next level as far as hair loss, right? Like, I think for me, it's probably going to be to shave my head. I mean, I know you're already there, but is there like a next level for you, or you already feel like you got this?
Next level for me with alopecia, I'm not sure. I kind of feel like I reached, that's like the end, you know, like shaving your head, just being okay with it. I don't think so, actually. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Or maybe like, is there anything that you're still working on? Because I feel, and the reason why I ask is because I feel that when people see very confident women, you know, like you and I, that are already, you know, at a place of acceptance, people tend to believe that we are in acceptance every day. That's not true. I know that we still have some bad days. So is there something that you're still working on?
Yes, childhood trauma. That is something I'm working on. So right now, as an adult, me at 22 years old, I'm okay with my alopecia 100%. I could talk about it, rip off my wig, shave my head. I'm okay with it. But 8-year-old Danielle in elementary school was bullied like you wouldn't believe, hair ripped off, felt hideous, felt like not deserving of anything. So sometimes those that little girl inside me kind of creeps up in situations that have nothing to do with alopecia. It could just be with something with school, work. Sometimes that little girl will creep up. So I'm trying to work on that through therapy. I'm not in therapy right now, but I was doing it last year, and I'm planning on going back. That's something very important, because it does stain you, your inner child trauma. That's a real thing.
Oh my gosh.
And so I definitely recommend that. If you're already at a place like me where you're cool with it as an adult, but you're still struggling with like things that happened 10, 15 years ago, seek help. Like, go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the thing. Like, it'll really help you. So that is something I want to work on.
Dani, have you done anything else outside of therapy? Any other tools that you can share with us that have helped you cope with alopecia?
Absolutely. The alopecia community, that is like the number one thing that helped me before I started going to therapy. When I first started learning about how to accept myself, I was going on Instagram, looking up the hashtag alopecia girl, and I would find all these girls and I would follow them on Instagram, and then slowly we became friends. So I have friends in other countries just based off of that, just by finding them through social media. So I feel like that is so important. Finding your group of friends that support you, who you can relate to, especially.
Find your tribe, for sure. Lean in the community, right? If you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like nobody is like you, trust me, there are actually 6.8 million people in the United States with alopecia, 143 million in the world. So, you know, there's a huge community that you can reach out to. So please reach out, because I know I spent many years in a very dark place, but back then this didn't even exist. So we are so blessed that we have this, and you know, it's with events like this that we get to raise awareness so people know that we are around, right? So like contributing, not only just reading posts. Like I encourage everybody to comment on people's posts, right? Like reach out via DMs. Don't be that person that it's only consuming and scrolling, because that's not going to help, right? What helps is when we support each other, when we tell our story, when we share what's happening, when we ask questions. That's when, you know, the real support comes. So yeah, I totally get that. Dani, so is there anything that you want to share, like as the last golden like lesson that you've had? What has been the biggest lesson that you've had from alopecia?
The biggest lesson for me is just to keep going. Like, you're going to find yourself hitting a wall at some point, feeling like you're stagnant with your progress regarding like self-love and your acceptance of alopecia. Just keep going no matter what. Even if the progress seems slow, and just keep going. That's ultimately like my ultimate tip.
Yeah. I had to ask you something too. Is there anybody that you look up to?
Do they have to have alopecia or just anyone in general?
No, anybody.
I really love Ashley Graham. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a plus size model and she's changing the industry. I really love her. I love Katie Wilcox. She's actually the owner of the agency I'm signed with. She's amazing. Yeah, so those two definitely are up there with like people that I find inspiring.
Love it. And so I know you already mentioned that you want to be a motivational speaker. So why is that important to you?
It's important to me because I didn't have those resources as a kid. Like I couldn't just go see someone speak who had alopecia. I didn't know anyone in my town that had alopecia at the time. So I want to be that voice for people who have alopecia or any type of like autoimmune or differences that they have. You know, I want to be that voice. Like I said, to not have that representation, even in the media. That's why I do the modeling too. So that's why it's so important to me to like share my story, because I feel like maybe it sounds a little conceited, but I feel like I could help people in some way. And even if I can't, like at least I tried, you know?
Oh my gosh. And you are already, like, just by representing us again, like you're giving us a voice. So thank you so much for everything you do, Dani. I hope this is not the last time that we collaborate. You have a bright future ahead of you. I have no doubt of that. So let's stay in touch. And everybody, please make sure to follow Dani. Her page is amazing. Dani, tell us, where can they find you?
My Instagram is at Alopecian. So aloe, ALOPEACH, like peach, like the fruit, and then IA. Yeah, my Instagram. That's usually where I post.